B. Shanmugam Sundar. So I am a research fellow who is working in University of Chile, Santiago, and currently I am working in Functional Materials and Microsystem Group in RMIT University, Melbourne, Australia. So today I am going to talk about the recent development in flexible and wearable electronics. I was working in this field for the last 10 years. Like from 2010, I have started working in flexible electronics, and still I am working in the field of flexible and wearable electronics. So today I'm going to share, so what are the works we have done so far, along with that introduction of flexible and wearable electronics. So what are the work we have done so far during this 10 years. So I will share all the works with you. And seeing about the overview of the talk, my talk comprises of the organic electronics. So that is a basic for the flexible electronics. So whenever you are going to fabricate some flexible electronics, we need the organic materials for the fabrication. But now we are using the inorganic electronics also, inorganic materials also for the fabrication of flexible electronics. But before, like 2-3 years before, we used only the organic materials. We used only the organic materials for the fabrication. So if you are interested to work in flexible electronics, then you should know something about the organic electronics. So I'm going to give you a brief introduction about the organic electronics. Then we are going to see about the main topic, that is a flexible electronics. So what is the use of flexible electronics in our day-to-day applications, and what is the main advantage of using the flexible electronics? So those all things will be seen in the flexible electronics topic. Then next to the flexible electronics, we are going to see about the flexible substrate. So if you are going to consider a flexible electronics, so the flexible substrate will be considered as a backbone for the flexible electronics. So without the flexible substrate, so whatever materials you deposit on the flexible substrate will not act as a flexible device. So the substrate should be flexible enough. Then only we can able to consider, we can able to say that device is a flexible electronic device. So we are flexible substrate is the backbone. So we are going to see somewhat detail about the flexible substrate. And next we are going to see about the polymer clay and PDMS flexible substrate. So these are the substrate which we are fabricated. So which we are fabricated during our doctoral work and postdoctoral work. So we have fabricated this substrate. And next to that, we are going to see about the flexible antenna. That is a Wi-Fi antenna which radiates at 2.4 gigahertz. So that is the thing we are going to see. After that, these 4 items are very new, and so currently we are working on this 4 technology. First one is flexible and wearable ECG sensor. So ECG sensor is mainly used to measure the art functions. So that we are working currently with the collaboration with the industry in RMIT University, Melbourne. And next to that, we are going to see about the how we can fabricate the flexible sensor. So before, I have given this presentation a lot of times before also, but I didn't mention about the fabrication of the flexible sensor. So in this presentation, I'm going to give insight about how we can fabricate the flexible sensor and what are the facilities we need for the fabrication. And next to that, we are going to see about the flexible integrated circuits. So I think this was organized by EC department. So most of them will be from the electronics background. So still now we are using the inductor, resistor, capacitor of rigid components. So if you are going to, if you want to fabricate a flexible integrated circuit, then what are the, how the components such as like inductor, resistor, capacitor will have to be, how we will design, how we have to design those components. So that thing will be covered in the flexible integrated circuits. And finally, we are going to see a new current technology, which will be considered as a very odd bit of that research flexible area, and biomedical also, that is a wearable battery-free biosensors. So how the device can work without battery. So without battery, it is going to communicate the data from you to through wireless. So how we can do it. So that is a current topic we are working in RMIT University. So these are the topics which I'm going to cover in this talk. So if you have any doubts, just stop me and you can ask your questions, or you can send me in a chat window also. But I'm started presenting, so I can't able to view the chat window. So if you have any queries, just unmute your mic and just ask me. Okay. So what is the motivation and needs? So whenever I used to talk, I will use this slide. So every research should have some motivation and should needs. Like without motivation, we can't do any research. That should not be any research. Even for like after masters, we are going to PhD. We need some motivation. So if you don't have motivation, then there is no point of doing the PhD, right? So we can say like I'm an optical student. I have done my master's in optical in Alabama College of Engineering Technology currently. But I have selected my research field as the flexible electronics, which has motivated me to go to flexible electronics. Is that we human beings are running towards the fancy electronics. Like for example, instead of using the rigid mobile phone, if we have a mobile phone which can be bendable, then we are looking for the new types of mobile phones. Usually we can see about the television, like initially we are used the CRT television, black and white, then it is a CRT television, then it comes to LCD, then it go to LED. Now we are using the curved TVs, like Samsung and LG has been released the TVs. So it is a curved TV. So it was not a flat. It has something curvature in that shape. So like we are looking for some fancy items for the day-to-day life. So this motivated me, and seeing about the literature reviews, lot of flexible electronic devices have started growing in the year 2010. And the market for flexible electronics is going to be 73 billion by 2025. And experts said that this is a technology which is going to rule the future world for the next 20 to 30 years. So all the components which we are using as a rigid form, it should be converted into flexible one, and we will use it. For example, we can say, I can give you a very good example. We are using a mobile phone, right? So it is rigid. For example, if you have a mobile phone which can be rollable and keep it like as a pen in your pocket, then we look for that mobile. So this technology development has motivated me also to start working in the field of flexible electronics and needs. So when I will say that if there is no need for your research, there is no use of doing that research. So your research should not be fulfilled. So every research should have some needs in the society, as well as like it should have some development, it should have some advantages, so compared to the existing one. So if you are doing something like little modification in the existing one, there is no use of that point, right? So even though the little modification, like you have that output changes in a drastic way, then it is a useful one. So every research should have some needs. So without needs, there should not be any fulfillment. So my motivational needs are this. And we are entering into our topic. So I'm saying about the organic electronics. It was born in the year 1980s. So what is organic electronics? So the component which have carbon and hydrogen bond, they are considered as organic materials. So the electronics which are fabricated using that organic materials are called organic electronics. So it was born in the year 1980s. It replaced outdated inorganic materials. Like the inorganic materials, we have the periodic table elements. So those are the inorganic materials. So the organic materials have replaced the inorganic materials, and but now recently the researchers have started to working the flexible electronics with the help of inorganic materials also. And I'm saying about the advantages of organic electronics. It has a large area application, like we can able to fabricate a large screen. If you want to use the LED TVs, we can go for like large screen applications. Next one is it is a ease of fabrication. So once you set the fabrication points, that parameters, everything, it will be very easy for you to do the next fabrications. And it is lightweight because we are using the flexible substrates and high mechanical strength, and it has an improved optical and electrical properties. So these are the advantages of organic electronics. So I'm saying about the advantage of organic electronics over the silicon technology. Silicon technology means that it is an inorganic technology. So what is the advantage of organic electronics? Like I have mentioned here. So the main points I mentioned, only the main points here. The first one is it's a low cost per unit area. So if you compare the silicon technology, the organic electronics are low cost per unit area. It's a meaning that, for example, in silicon technology, we can able to fabricate only, like I'm saying for assumption, if we can able to fabricate only 2 cross 2 centimeter devices, but in organic technology, we can able to fabricate like 10 centimeter cross 10 centimeter devices. So if you compare the cost of the 10 centimeter cross 10 centimeter devices with the 2 centimeter cross 2 centimeter devices, the cost of that organic electronics is very low, because like we are going to fabricate a big device of 10 centimeter cross 10 centimeter. So that is the main advantages. Even though I will say that organic technology, the cost is it is highly expensive, but if you able to fabricate with the same materials, if you can able to fabricate for a large area product, then the cost will be obviously it will be very low. So that is the main advantage of organic electronic technology. And in silicon we are using the rigid substrate, but in organic we are using the flexible substrate. That is one more main advantages. So you can ask me like, what is the use of that flexible substrate? So for example, if you want to mount some flexible TVs or flexible displays on your wall, so if the wall is not even, not flat, then it is very difficult to mount that devices which are made from rigid substrate. But if it is made from a flexible substrate, then it can be easily mounted on the wall. So that is the main advantage of using flexible substrate. And seeing that silicon technology, it is fragile, but in organic, it is robust. So these are the advantages of organic technology, which motivated to all the researchers around the world to start working in the flexible electronics field. So flexible electronics, as I said, it is a future technology. A lot of research experts uh, has said that. So it is a future technology which is going to rule the entire world for the next 20 to 30 years. So with the help of the future flexible electronics, so all the devices which we are using in rigid form will be converted into flexible form, and it will be like available in the market as soon as possible. Like because like lot of products were patented now, and they were started, and the researchers in the academic like us like academic, they have a collaboration with the industry partners, and they started to fabricate. They started to produce a technology as a product. So soon, so all the items in terms of flexible form will be available. And seeing about the advantages of flexible system, like we can make the flexible displays, solar cells. It is a flexible solar cell, flexible transistor. Currently in our group, the lot of people are working in transistors, flexible. And we can make flexible sensor, wearables and batteries, antennas, and RFID tags. These are the items. These are the applications of flexible electronics. And so what is the reasons? So why we want to go for flexible electronics? As I said before itself, it is a lightweight material. So it has a roll up design. Like what's the main advantage? Like we can able to roll like a paper and we can keep it in our pocket. That's the main advantage of that. And seeing about the structure, because like we are going to see full of flexible electronics in this talk. So I'm not going to speak much about the chemistry part. I'm going to speak only about the electronics part. There is a engineer part. So how we can fabricate, how we can design. So like those aspects I'm going to speak today. So not much of chemistry. So on seeing about the structure of flexible electronics, so this is a structure. This is simplest structure. So the bottom will have a flexible substrate, so which act as a base. So this flexible substrate will consider as a backbone, because this is going to hold the entire device. So it is the goal to support the entire device. So about to the flexible substrate, as an electronics engineer, we know that if you are going to apply some bias, we need two terminals, positive terminal as well as negative terminal. So about to the flexible substrate, we need two terminals for applying bias. One is anode, next one is cathode. So in between the anode and cathode, we will connect all the components. Like for example, if you're going to do some RLC circuit, so we will have that positive supply as well as ground. In between the positive and ground, we will have resistor, inductor, and capacitor. The same thing you are going to see here. So if you take the structure of flexible electronics, it will have the flexible substrate. About to that, it has an anode. So about to the anode, we have that intermediate material. So this we will call that material as active layer. So about to the active layer, we will have cathode. So what is this active layer? So active layer will determine the working principle of the device. Like for example, I will give like a simple two example. If you take the LED and solar cell, so both are having inverse operation. So in LED point of view, what we will do, we will apply bias. There will be an electron and volts recombination. Out of that, the photon will be generated. That is, a light will be generated. But in terms of like solar cells, it will absorb the light. So with the help of that light, it will generate some amount of voltage. So this is the basic principle. For example, if you take the LED, so if you are going to fabricate a red LED, so the wavelength of red is 650 nanometer. It was around 650 nanometer. So for example, if you want to fabricate a red LED, then the active layer should be determined that. So the band gap of active layer should be 650 nanometer. So if the active layer band gap is 650 nanometer, then the electron and volts get recombined at the active layer, and based on that band gap, so the emitted layer will be emitted in the particular wavelength, like 650 nanometer. So this is that basic principle behind this active layer. So active layer will determines the working principle of that particular flexible substrates. So next, the flexible substrate. So because like I said, like as a graph, the first is organic electronics, then to organic, we are coming into flexible electronics. So out of organic electronics, the flexible electronics is the important one. So we are seeing about the flexible electronics. So in the flexible electronics, the flexible substrate is the backbone. So we are going to see in detail about the flexible substrate. Then we are going to see about the flexible devices, what we can fabricate with the help of these flexible substrates. So I'm saying about the flexible substrate. So again, I am repeating the same sentence, that it's a backbone for flexible electronics. So what is the main feature of flexible substrate? So it has to provide some degree of bending without fail. So for example, if you are going to use some flexible substrate, it should be like flexible. Then only we can call that substrate to be a flexible substrate without any damage in the substrate. For example, if you take the paper, if you roll the paper, then again we can able to make the paper to be flat by applying some pressure on the paper. We can able to make the paper into flat without any damage. So that can be called as a flexible substrate. So depending upon the mechanical nature, the flexible substrate can be classified into three types. So first one is bendable or rollable. Next one is permanently shaped. Third one is elastically stretchable. So what is bendable and rollable? For example, like if you take the paper, again I'm giving the example for as a paper. So if we take a paper, we can able to roll the paper and we can make it as a thin strip like a pen. So that is called bendable or rollable. The substrate which can be bendable or which can be rollable, and again it can able to retain its original shape by applying some pressure without any damage. So that is called bendable or rollable. So second one is permanently shaped. So permanently shaped materials are like, as we said before, so we have that LED TV, curved LED TV, which was fabricated, which was marketed by LG and Samsung. So that TV will comes under the permanently shaped. So the meaning is, it is a permanently shaped, but it can't able to retain its original position. It can't able to be make as a flat one. So if you make that as a flat one, then it will get damaged. So that is called permanently shaped substrates. And third one is elastically stretchable. So we are using day-to-day life, we are using the elastic band or rubber band, so to tie our hair. So that comes under that can be given as an example for elastically stretchable, that the band can be elastically stretchable to a particular extent. After that, if you release that pressure, then it will come into its original position. So that is called elastically stretchable substrate. So now, after the flexible substrate and wearable electronics, flexible and wearable electronics, so a lot of researchers are working on stretchable electronics. So stretchable is one of the boom field which is going to boom now. So like they will, even like after the stretchability also, if you leave the stretchability, then it retains its original position. It will have all the functions. It will have the same functions without any damage in that functions. So those type of devices are also like it was in the research. And I'm saying about the substrates which was available like in the olden days, I'm saying that we can use thin glass, plastic, metal foils as the flexible substrate. So you can ask me how we can use the glass and metal foils as the plastic as a flexible substrate. It will have any flexibility. So in the olden days, researchers have been used that thin glass and metal foils by making the thickness of glass to be like 100 micrometer. So if you make the glass to be like 100 micrometer, then it can be able to flexible. It can have some flexibility. So it can be used as a flexible substrate. So we will discuss in detail about these things. So what are the requirements for a flexible substrate? For example, if you are going to consider some substrate to be a flexible substrate, so what are the things should be there? So first one is transparency. So it should be greater than 85%. So what is the use of transparency? So like I can say that we can classify the flexible substrate based on the transparency of flexibility, like flexible devices into two categories based on the transparency of flexible substrate. The one as flexible devices which requires the transparent substrate, and the other one which requires the transparent or maybe opaque substrate. So there are two classification can be done with in the flexible devices, electronic devices. So the optoelectronic devices such as LED, solar cells will comes under the devices which requires the flexible substrate, and other devices such as antenna, RFID tag, biomedical sensors will come under the classification, the substrate devices which do not require the flexible substrate. So you can use which do not require the transparent substrate. So you can also use the transparent substrate for fabricating those devices. It won't be a drawback, but there is no mandatory requirement. Like if you take the LED and solar cell, the flexible transparency is the mandatory one. But in terms of that that antenna and RFID tag, there is no mandatory point. So if you are going to work on optoelectronic applications, then the transparency of flexible substrate should be greater than 85%. If it is less than 85%, then there is no use of using that substrate to be flexible substrate, because the problem is because the problem is that, so the electron volts will get recombined and the photons will get generated out of that combination, and it has to get emitted. It has to come out of the flexible substrate. We will use the flexible substrate at the top. So there is two type of devices will be there. One top emitting surface, one of them is a bottom emitting surface. So if you are using top emitting substrate, the flexible substrate will be used as an encapsulation for the entire device. So the photons has to come out of this flexible substrate. So there should be some flexibility as well as there should be some transparency. If the substrate is opaque, then the photons will get trapped inside the substrate. So there is no output. So that is the main drawback if you use if the transparency is very less, if you are going for optoelectronic applications. And next one is ACE. So the ACE should be less than 0.7. And third one, it is a very important point, that is the upper operating temperature. It should be greater than 150. So upper operating temperature, we can say that as a thermal stability. So what is the use? Why we are saying that this point is a very important factor? Because like for the flexible electronic applications, device fabrications, we have to do the fabrication in clean room, and sometimes we have to deposit some materials in high temperature, like 200 degrees centigrade or 250 degrees centigrade. We have to deposit some temperature, some elements, metal elements. Maybe we can use some contact like gold or silver to have some contact. We have to deposit in a high level of temperature. So at that time, if your substrate is not capable of withstanding like greater than 150 temperature, so it will get melt or it will get burned. So that is the main drawback if your substrate has very low thermal stability. So that is a main drawback. So your flexible substrate should have the high thermal stability, which should be greater than 150 degrees centigrade. And fourth one is the coefficient of thermal expansion. The thing is like if your substrate has more coefficient of thermal expansion, then it will start giving some expansion. So after you are fabricating some devices, so if it start expanding, so whatever connections we have that, so it will also start expanding, because we are going to have some deposit some metal over the flexible substrate. So the entire device will get expanded. So there will be some short circuit, or there will be some no connections will be there. There is a break of connections. So that's why we are saying that the coefficient of thermal expansion for the flexible substrate should be less than 20. And finally, we are going with surface roughness. So all the flexible substrate should have some surface roughness. If your flexible substrate don't have the surface roughness, then it is very difficult to deposit the another material on above of the flexible substrate. So it should have some minimum surface roughness. If your roughness is very more, then it leads to diffraction, scattering of light. So there is again there is a problem in using that substrate as for optoelectronic applications. So these are the things we have to consider. And finally, resistance to chemical. So your substrate should not be get dissolved in the when you dip that substrate in a solvent. It should not get dissolved. If it gets dissolved, then there is
Sir, your
no use of.
presentation screen is not visible, sir.
Oh, so just a minute. Can you able to see this?
No, sir.
No, wait.